The beginning of my spiritual awakening started when my best friend from the military passed. He had a brain aneurysm. And I flew from New York to Nevada, and I cried my eyes out at his funeral. It was totally unexpected. He was a great guy. He was my best friend that I've ever had in my entire life. And wow. Then I go to California, and I stayed at this Airbnb, and I started making money. That's when I started the Winningham sweepstakes. And I mailed things to that Airbnb. They never gave me my mail. Next thing you know, I'm homeless. I'm on the street. And I have no phone for months. So during my spiritual awakening, during the beginning phases, I did a complete technology cleanse. I was on the street. I was homeless. I was starving. And I had nothing but intuition to guide me, so I was able to fine tune it. After a few months, I didn't even want a phone again. I loved my intuition. I loved training it. I loved learning new things. I loved going within. I loved meditation. I loved peaceful nights under the stars. I loved sleeping on the beach and just feeling the energy from the waves. The most peaceful sleep I've ever had, still to this day. I began to love nature instead of UV lights. I began to love sun again. I began to communicate with people again and learn other people's stories. And in this process, in this technology cleanse, in this time of my own, where I was all alone in the wilderness, I found peace and I found myself. After about 10 months of this process, I had had other phones after that. It was like maybe 4 months I was without a phone. No technology at all, just intuition, just training. I started to fine tune my pineal function. I started to really understand how my internal antenna and my system worked. Learned how to talk back. So after 10 months of homelessness and making a ridiculous amount of money over the course of that entire year, having everything taken and having people continuously try to end my life, I decided, okay, I'm fearless. I'm going to go back to New York, and I'm going to take out everybody that attacked me my entire life that made homelessness better than having a home. So my intentions were at that time, 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago, completely unpure. The goal was to put them in prison. The goal was to finish them. I had malicious intent. I wasn't going to physically harm them. I was going to bring light to everything about who they are, because now I finally understood. And I thought it was my mission to get revenge for all the horrible treatment, all the horrible things they did. I felt it was my mission to end that. And now that I'm moving forward and moving on, it's been a couple of years of this consistent struggle, getting poisoned in my own home, all these other nifty little things they keep deciding that they want to be a part of. And I found more peace in separating myself and letting the officials do their job. Point is, I had to leave the home that I was paying for with the food I was paying for because my mother was putting rat poison in my food. I was getting foggy, I was getting unclear. I was having to fast just to flush it out of my system because what she was doing was making it build up over time. So by the end of the week, I'd have horrible headaches, blurry vision, skin irritation. My mind, my thought processes would be very foggy. And then I'd have to go on weekend jaunts to cleanse myself of all that, make sure I ate nothing, and get rid of all that stuff out of my system. So for 2 years, it was a never-ending cycle of hardship. And now that I've left, and all I'm looking forward to is the future, and leaving it in God's hands, there's much more peace. So I tried to report all this to the police, and they straight up said, we're going to do nothing. They took that report and they handed it to a psychologist because obviously they think I'm crazy. But that's not craziness, that's the reality of the situation. I have clarity. I don't have craziness, I have clarity. So I've now placed them in a position to where, because of my connections in other areas, because they straight said, no, we're going to do nothing about this, completely invalidate all of that truth, and we're going to do nothing and not put it up higher, we're going to do nothing. That's going to put them under investigation as well. So I put them in that position to see exactly what they would do with truthful information. And I had receipts. Molestation from the time I was a child, significant psychological abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, other reported crimes, failed businesses, all kinds of other things I saw that are actually memories from my entire life, and how I am nothing like them or what they painted me out to be. Whereas they are way worse than they painted themselves to be, because they do everything in the dark. They gave my report to a therapist or a psychologist and said, oh no, you got to talk to him about this. And then I went back to the police station. They said, we're not doing anything with this. You have to hire your own lawyer. We're not going to do anything about this. Not only that, but we're not even going to send an email to a higher institution that can. They called it jurisdictional issues. But we're not even going to put this information forward or in the hands of somebody that can do something about it, as I was reporting a crime committed against me recently. So I will never again trust the police. Not that I ever have, because let's face it, they protect all of the crap that goes on that's dark and dirty. That's their job. It's not their job to maintain order or serve and protect. The only thing they protect is the garbage. I've seen them do it in more than one city. Way more than one city. They just protect the bad stuff so it can keep happening, so the money can keep flowing. Because hey, there's people too, right? They need a paycheck. They need that little supplemental income. So they justify their inaction, labeling an accurate report as psychotic or whatever. And when I went back, they just straight up said, no, we're not doing anything. Like, we're just not. We're not going to put your report anywhere. We're not going to do anything for you on purpose. We're not doing anything. Interesting how that works. Well, they didn't know that I had ties to certain feds, and that's going to put them under investigation. They keep thinking they're testing me and I'm the test. They keep getting confused, because all this has been accurately reported to the feds that are investigating my own family. I didn't mean to intertwine them with this. I just needed help, and they refused blatantly. So I guess we'll see what comes of this. I still have no respect for darkness. So, adios.